don't have no ears.
I'll get you. We talking lizards. We talking lizards, and we're talking some hats. Yeah, man. All that and more on this edition, Tackle Shop Live. Well, Scott Lockhart. Eric Anderson, how you doing? Robert Donahue, man, what's happening? Mike Myers, Mike Hayer, I'm sorry. Mark, how you doing? Real good. Chuck Wright, what's up, man? How you doing? Getcha. Owen Barker, David Johnson. Hey, we got a great show for you guys tonight. And we're gonna talk lizards. Yes, we are. We're gonna talk lizards tonight. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. And we're gonna talk about stuff we did 20 years, 30 years. Okay. Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. So we are. Hey, Jeff Riddle, how you doing? JR, what do you say, buddy? Andy Garrett, what's going on? Yeah, boys, sporting a new hat here. I'm wearing it all day. Kind of like it. My new thing. But I want to show it right there. How's that? Right? So we just wanted to say hi to everybody. And Joey Warner's here, Paul Batters, Jack Hinkle. My name's Mike Acord. This is George Acord. And guess what? Who's back in the house?
Uh-oh.
CG Gottwald.
I'm back. I'm back, baby.
And better than ever.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Corbin's been working on a new job. So
Are you feeling the vibe?
What kind of vibe?
The
birthday vibe?
The season.
The
The
season?
season. The bass season is upon us. Vibe.
Oh,
Are you feeling that vibe?
well, I mean, not considering there's the river's still iced up, but I mean, the tournament season's upon
There's
us.
a little more to planet Earth than a 10-mile stretch of Susquehanna River, bro.
Well,
They
you're
are
asking
fishing.
if I'm feeling the vibe, man. I mean, the vibe that I'm feeling is a birthday vibe.
I mean, these boys are fishing.
Mikey had a trip around the sun in the past week. And,
Oh, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I mean, these guys are fishing, man.
Well, not all of them. I mean, the Bass Pro Tour did cancel today because it was too cold. 36 degrees.
Oh,
You know, we go
Oh.
fishing in that, George.
yeah. She don't like to fish in that kind of weather.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was goose down weather, man. Goose down weather.
Well, Kenny, how you doing, man? Hey, good to see you guys. Yeah, man. New girlfriend. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. George needs a hat. Yeah, I know. I wanted to get Corbin, Corbin
Whoa.
and George to wear the hat.
What's wrong with this hat?
No, man, we wanted to get the hats going.
This is my signature lid.
It's all good.
Easy on the hat talk.
It's all good. Jerry Otto, how you doing? But anyway, we got this great show tonight. We were watching fishing last weekend, and we saw a lot of guys throwing around a lizard, and it just brought back all kinds of stuff that we used to do with it. Well, we still kind of mess around, not as much. But we're going to go over to some lizard fishing and what it's all about and what we did with them and do with them and how we fish them here in our area. But it kind of goes across the borders. I mean, it goes kind of all over, with the way we fish them. So we're going to go over a bunch of rigging techniques and stuff on lizard fishing. But we also have a really, really good segment that we're going to start right now on all of the new tackle that came to Susquehanna Fishing Tackle the last couple of days here since last Thursday. We got a ton of stuff.
What do we call this segment?
We call this segment what?
Tackle talk.
Tackle talk. Yeah, baby.
Well, me and my associate CG Gottwald here are suckers for the latest color. I mean, we got a whole boat.
Yeah.
We got a whole boat full of the latest color.
Yeah.
And we also are addicted to the Spro company. And what do you got here, Corbin?
Well, I'm
We
not
got
sure
some.
where we want to start here.
Well, let's start with these rock crawlers.
Yeah, those rock crawlers. I had a chance to fish some of them.
Well, I mean, the rock crawler is a fantastic crankbait, right?
Yep.
I mean, it is a hardcover cranking machine. It's famous. Comes in 3 sizes. And just when you thought there wasn't enough colors,
Yeah.
They brought out some more.
yes, they did. Yes, they
Including-
did.
including an actual shad pattern,
Yeah.
which
So,
is interesting. you know?
well, they brought this shad pattern out previously in the Little John, and this is called Sparkle Shad. And I'll tell you what,
Sparkle shad.
you get you some clear water when they're feeding on them shads.
a little bit of sunshine.
What do you think of that, Corbin?
I think it'll work. It looks pretty good, man. I mean, the thing, if we're talking about like that specific bait itself, George, the thing that I like about that is it's a good size smallmouth bait. You know, like that 50 is a great size smallmouth bait. You know what I mean?
Or
Oh, yeah.
or a sunny day, clear water, high pressure, tough bite.
Yep.
How about Goby?
Yeah.
Man, they nailed the Goby right there.
That's a good looking color right
I
there.
mean, that thing is alive. These
Yeah.
come in all 3 sizes, by the way, fellas.
Yep.
And then, of course, in the springtime, you know, we like us some red.
Red.
How about some Delta Crawl up in the house?
I love that color with that little bit of yellow on the bottom.
matte
Yep.
matte finish.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Matte
love
finish.
that color, man. And Tata Water will freaking rip their heads off.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Kills.
You know, it's kind of like that spring crawl we like to throw, right?
Oh, yeah. That's a great color. I love it.
And then, of course, we are addicted to the Uruku shad. How about we do a little slideshow? What do you think, cameraman?
Here we
Nick?
go. Ready? We're gonna go from left to right, George.
You got that camera popping?
Crawl chartreuse.
Look at that.
Crawl chartreuse.
Man, that's another great. I just love that color.
How about bluegill?
Oh, but you know.
Oh.
Now I'm just going to let you know there's a color they have called perch that I mean I will tell you right now, you can take it anywhere on planet Earth. Put this one in the box with it.
Yeah, I think that's going to go really well with that perch.
Yep.
We got next there, Corbin.
I mean, in honor of you, Spro named a color after you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is the G Nugget.
Mm-hmm.
G is for George, not gold.
Really?
G is for George.
Yeah.
The G Nugget.
The
G Nugget.
I love it.
The G Nugget.
Hey, how about, and I mean, this thing right here is money. How about real perch?
Wow.
I'm just telling you right now, man.
I'm excited about that.
My second lipless crankbait box is probably going to weigh about 2 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Because the
Yep.
first one's full.
Yep.
What do you got there, Corbin?
Well, we got to keep the perch theme rolling.
Yeah.
Frozen perch.
Oh. Look at that.
Frozen perch.
Black back.
That's a impact color. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
true impact color. And then last but not least, to go along with the other 47 colors of Spro Uruku shad, crawfish gold.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
So you got that little bit of that red crawl pattern that's been famous for years with them.
Like sort of like a Rayburn red with some,
Yeah, like a little bit of a matte
with
finish.
some copper in there.
Yeah.
Goldish copper.
And then also new from Spro, we got from our buddy Russ Lane.
Wrestling.
I would say this is the bait that he talked about.
He
when
talked.
he was on Tackle Shop Live, and he goes,
He did.
"Hey George, wait till you see this new top water coming out from Spro and the way it walks across the surface. Man, you gotta have you some of these. That's a bait that I've been designing down here in Alabama on the Coosa River. And when they don't eat that, I flip my big bite coontail and the shaky head up behind them, and I catch them on the Main River. You know what I mean? So George, break down this bait, man.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think he can do much better than that. I hope Russ Lane's watching too, because
I
he
hope
probably
so too.
he probably just like spit beer out of his nose.
Yep.
So this is the Fat Papa Walker 130. So it's a big bait. And to Russ's point, it's a flat walker. It stays flat on the water and walks. 3 Gamakatsus up on there with a feather on the back. And of course, the color I wanted to pick was bone because,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there any other top water color?
Yeah.
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 Now, also on Tackle Talk here, we're going to have the rapid fire session. We have some taglines for this. We got a massive Shimano shipment in, and we finally got the Nasky 2500.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, people have just been wearing us out
It's a new version, too.
Yeah, it's
Upgrade.
it's got it. It's got it going on. Here's the thing, Mike. The old version was a tighten the handle
Oh,
up
yeah.
deal.
Yeah, through handle.
So now we have the direct drive.
Yep.
Threading the handle into the drive gear and then cinching it down. That's the next level.
That's the next level.
If your real handle tightens into your drive gear, then consider yourself next level.
Locked in.
You're cutting edge.
Locked and loaded.
So $99.99, Mike, is that correct? On the 2500?
Yes.
And I mean we got plenty to go around, so obey all traffic rules and regulations on your way here. There's no need to autobahn on over here. We will not be running out right away because we did get a lot, but we're excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
We also are heavily stocked in Power Pro, and we have been sold out of Power Pro for
Sold out.
I mean, I thought the people went on strike or something, but we are loaded up on Power Pro. We have got a lot of Power Pro. So we got your Power Pro situation. We got a giant Daiwa shipment in this week. Tractor trailer, actually. A skid of Daiwa.
And in there was these sharp straw hats, as you can see. Now, I've been kidding around with them all day long with the hat. And, because of just the way I look in it, which is pretty crazy. But
Mikey Pinwheel.
But
fire.
The big deal with it is, it covers your whole face and your ears and your neck. And that's the thing about it when you're out there fishing. And I've been noticing the last year or so, there's been a lot of guys out in the water sporting these things.
Well,
if you watched the live when we were down at the Bay, Nick, we went out on the boat and jumped on with JT and Ryan Bauman, and he was wearing one. And JT was wearing one, and they're all wearing these hats because they're, there's another form of protection from the sun.
A lot of these guys, you can't see they're covered from head to toe.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that hat just goes right along with it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, that
for sure.
That skin cancer is nothing to joke around with. I mean, we're wearing, obviously, buffs, gloves, SPF shirts, and now we have
and a lot of these hats are very expensive, but this one here, $40. $40 for a straw hat.
I don't know if it's straw necessarily.
That's straw, dude.
I think it's rattan.
I think it's straw.
I think it's bamboo. Maybe
What the
papyrus.
hell's the difference of rattan and straw? And it's the same
Rattan.
damn thing.
Either way, it's flammable.
It's also a crusher. You can fold it.
Oh, you can fold it.
Yeah, you can crush it up.
Hey, Mike, this sounds like another story you were
Hang on.
talking about on live.
What do you mean you can fold it up? Oh, like this, you mean? Oh, I can wear
Yeah,
it.
yeah, now you're ready for a Kenny Chesney concert,
Dude,
Mikey.
I could be what's
You
his
can
name?
be Jesse the Body Ventura in Predator.
Oh,
The
wait,
one side up.
Mike, you're bleeding.
I got one better.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh God.
You got time to run?
Who is this?
Mikey
This
is
Jesse the
sacrificing
Body
his
Ventura.
sun protection at this point.
I just gave you the whole skit. I
No.
thought it was amazing.
Who's the archery guy? Uncle
Ted.
Uncle Ted.
Uncle Ted.
Uncle Ted.
Oh, we should have some. We should have some.
You could be Uncle
freaking
Ted.
banging in the background, man.
You could be Sierra, Mr. Sierra. You can be
Jesse the Body Ventura, bro.
whatever. Do it all.
Predator. Greatest movie of all time.
Dude, I don't know about crushing them, but
Well, we also have them from Costa. Those I know you can crush. That one there, that was just a test. I wanted to see if it actually worked. I'm pretty sure do not crush the Daiwa hat.
Right.
The Costa hats, the Costas are actually crushable.
yeah, I don't think you want to crush them.
Do not crush the Daiwa hat. Mike the Body Ventura just proved that.
You don't want to do that.
All right. Well, along with that Daiwa shipment, I mean, as exciting as the hat is, we finally got a big shipment of Daiwa Tatula Elite rods back in.
Man, that,
Wow.
that rack was pitiful for so long.
I was getting ready to carry that rack out of the store.
I know. Throw it right in the trash can.
We also have got a huge Mega Bass shipment, and I have audio visuals to go along with this one.
Oh, yeah.
My first segment is called Mountains of Mag Drafts. Every color and lots of them. So don't worry, we're not going to run out tomorrow. Okay? Mountains of Mag Drafts.
Tons of them.
Now hold on.
What? Well, you didn't talk about the new color, dude.
Oh, well, I didn't.
Yeah. There's 2 of them.
New to us, not new to Mega
Yeah,
Bass.
new
They
to
had them in stock, but we just couldn't get them too good. This is
Yeah.
Nude Bass.
Yeah. New
Look
to
at that
us.
thing, man. That's going to crush. And then we also got Biowako, along with all the other colors. So we have mountains of Mag Drafts. We also got, hold on, audio visual. Uh-oh.
A pile of P5 destroyers. A pile of them.
Somebody said the P5s are hard to get. Not if you know a guy.
We got all the P5s back in
I know
stock.
a guy.
Loads of them. Big piles of them.
Huh?
There you go with that. That's exciting.
Uh-oh.
That's very exciting.
Rob's down.
2 P5 down,
2 P5s down.
P10.
But the P5 went over really well. It's super light. It's the specific actions and super sensitive. The tapers are very unique for each rod. Really went over well. Everybody loves it and super hard to get. So we just got the shipment in, and I'm sure they'll go out pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, you know what else we got? This was from an order that we placed about 14 months ago with the global Death Star that is Pure Fishing.
Wait a second.
Yeah. You want to talk about a back order? They came out with the bright idea about a year and a half ago to bring out bulk bags of flatworms. And I guess the thought process was we can't deliver regular bags of flatworms. So let's try to do some bulk bags. Well, anyways, we forgot about them. I mean, we got a ton of them and you guys bought them all up. And anyways, yesterday we got a shipment with a whole giant box full of 30 count bags of brownback.
Brownback, which is very
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
sought after. Now, here's the deal.
We're not even going to put those on
That-
the website.
That's exactly right. It's for you guys that are listening to this show. We got them. You can order them. You got to call the shop to get them, or you can stop in the shop and pick them up here.
And there's
but-
plenty of them.
But we're not gonna advertise them or anything. It just there's a bunch of them back here, so we have plenty of bags. But it's the brown back, which everybody's hunting for and everybody's out of right now. But we got them in those big bulk bags, so come on in and get them.
Now, guys, does that mean that the jihad is in a truce now?
Well, no, you're all wrong on that.
That was the wrong company.
Yeah,
bro.
you
Wrong
forgot
company.
you forgot the timeline on that. That's against Pradco.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, if history teaches us anything, jihads go on for a long time. So, we'll bring that up at a later date.
Yep.
Anyways, electronics have been ripping out of here, and I just want to say what's left right now is one power pole charge. There are 3 more on order. They allowed us 3 for the foreseeable future. We have 2 live scopes, the black box live scopes, and we're down to 1 Garmin 10-inch Garmin UHD.
Yeah.
So we got a few pieces left.
Yep.
We're out of trolling motors until the end of April. That's the earliest we're going to see a trolling motor is like right at the end of April, which really means May. So that's if you need a trolling motor and you want to get one on order, give us a call and we'll put you on list because they're not coming in for a while.
Yeah.
And that's the tackle rundown for tonight, Mike.
Yeah. Paul Batters, how you doing, buddy? Derek Lozer, what's up, man? Jeff Riddle. I said hi to you many times, I think, but Keith Howard, how you doing, Keith?
Keith Howard.
Man, what's going on?
Howard.
Connor McLaughlin, how you, pal? But yeah, so
Keith Howard has a very special set of skills.
Yeah.
I may have to employ him in my jihad.
Oh God.
The big things with that is we wanted you guys to see, you know, some of the new stuff that's coming out and that's hitting the store. They introduced this stuff a while back in ICAST in July, and you know, this stuff just trickles in throughout the year. You get little spatters of it. So we got to keep you guys up to date with it. That's why we have this tackle shop, the tackle talk section, just to show you guys what's happening, what's hot, what's coming down the pipeline for you guys. And I'm telling you right now, we are loaded, Nick. We are
I know
loaded.
you are.
We got tackle coming out of our ears right now.
We got a giant. You know what else we got in today or yesterday? Or
What?
yesterday and today? We got a huge shipment of Bass Mafia in. We were
Oh.
out of Bass Mafia for so long
yeah, there's,
that we hung other products up in their space.
I don't even know the names of those bags anymore. What the hell's the name of those bags?
Money bags.
Oh, is that what they're called? Jeez, I don't even know. I haven't seen them forever. We got tons of money bags in, and all the different sizes. Corbin, you like the money bags?
Yeah.
I love them. I don't put money in them though.
Corbin, what are we doing next weekend?
Next weekend.
Saturday.
Let me pull up my calendar here real quick. Well, I'm off for a prior engagement. Smallmouth Saturday at the shop.
Oh, Smallmouth Saturday is next Saturday.
Yep.
Friday the 12th, I believe that is. And
Saturday the 12th.
Saturday the 12th. We're going to throw Smallmouth Saturday again. We skipped it last year. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it this year, but me and George decided to rent a tent, and we're going to have a heated tent out there for seminars. You know, it's all smallmouth. This is a great event because we're not talking about anything else but smallmouth fishing, and everything that's about smallmouth is going to be here. We're going to have all the local guides walking around. Anybody that's like really hot in smallmouth, you can come in here and pick their brains. I'm doing a seminar. George is doing a seminar. CG's doing his famous seminar.
It'll be different this year.
Oh yeah, it's always different.
It's always different.
It's always different. But Corbin's going to be here doing a great seminar. George is going to do one on you know, a little different, like lake fishing type reservoir.
I'm gonna do my seminar is gonna be reservoir smallmouth fishing.
Yeah, so it's and then me and Corbin are going to touch on the river stuff, and then talk about other stuff. You know, and nice thing is you come in here and you can pick everybody's brain that's walking around.
Yep.
And you can talk to them about smallmouth fishing, and hopefully learn something out of it, because we're all about learning.
Oh yeah.
That's what we do. That's why we do this stuff. We want to learn. We want you guys to learn, and we want you to catch more fish, and that's what we do. So that's what's coming up. Make sure you put it on your calendar. Starts at 8 a.m. on Saturday, Friday, February 12th, and ends at 4. There will be door prizes throughout. And what do you have to add? Anything to that?
I have nothing to add.
Oh, okay.
I'll just be
Well,
fired up. We're gonna have some specials.
Is that fella bringing that rod? Doug's rod?
Maybe.
Yeah, so we have some, and plus we have some other stuff going on that we're working on. That's going to be pretty cool. Plus we have some specials and door prizes.
We'll be running some specials.
Yep.
We got some pretty sweet deals. We're going to be running on some couple Shimano rods, some reels. We have some other deals that we're working up for you right now.
Yeah. Bunch of stuff. There's going to be a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff on
it's going to
special.
be fun.
It's going to be a great sale. So come on in and check us out. Shuttle bus, absolutely. Free parking.
The Bass Bus.
We're going to have the Bass Bus rolling, and you're going to be able to park where you did for the last event. We have that all set up
for all the events.
And for all of our events. Yep. And then mark your calendar to March the 18th and 19th is our Cabin Fever sale. Now our Cabin Fever sale is that's what it is. Pretty much a sale. But this year we're working on some stuff. We may have a really good lineup of seminar speakers. And I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So
we will have some bass fishing seminars. We'll have some multi-species seminars,
Yeah.
but
and I'm working on a muskie guy right now too. So
absolutely. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's great.
Yeah.
And then also our February 24th Tackle Shop Live.
Yeah.
So what's that? 2 weeks? No, 3 weeks.
February 24th is
3 weeks. We will be having Derek Hudnall on.
Yeah.
Courtesy of St. Croix Rods. And we might also have a couple of bass heads that work for St. Croix. And when I say bass heads, I'm talking some pretty hardcore dudes that actually, one of the guys that I'm trying to get to come on the show is a rod designer for them.
Yeah, he's one of
Oh,
the
that's really cool.
engineers that
And he works with these pros.
Yep.
Like he worked with Derek. I don't want to spoil the show, but we're going to talk about rods, and then we're going to pick Derek's brain on some springtime techniques. If you'll recall, when they kicked the Elite Series off last year in Florida, he did damage with a spinning rod and a wacky rig on some giant spawners.
Yes, he did.
So we're going to pick his brain a little bit about some springtime fishing. He's a pretty well-versed angler even though he's from the South, he's a good stick up north too. So we're going to pick his brain. So definitely tune in on the 24th.
Yeah.
For Derek Hudnall.
That'll be fun.
Courtesy of St. Croix Rods.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's coming up. That's in the pipeline.
Pipeline.
Now let's talk about some lizards.
Yeah. Man, this is what this show's about, man. It's the lizards. And I'd love to get into that. Matter of fact, I want to bring that in with a little something. We love it. That's old school. The thing about lizard fishing is it's kind of a lost thing, you know. It kind of went away. And what happened to the lizard was a thing called the brush hog and the creature bait style.
The sweet beaver.
And the sweet beaver, but it was like that whole creature bait thing really took over, and the lizard kind of went off to the side. You know, it kind of got pushed off a little bit. But there's guys that were kept throwing it and kept using it, and one of our good buddies, Jerry Surson, was a big, huge lizard fisherman, and he fishes them all the time. And me and George and Corbin, I'm sure Corbin too, but really before that time, we were just like, that's what we threw. We threw lizards. We Texas rigged lizards. We pitched lizards. We flipped lizards. We Carolina rigged lizards, because it was the different bait. It was the one that produced like better than anything back then. And so we're going to talk about, and really why the show kind of came about was this past weekend in tournament fishing.
Yeah, we were last week, if you recall, we were watching the MLF tour event on Sam Rayburn.
Yeah.
Which Michael Neal won. But the lizard on a Carolina rig was the go-to for many of the contestants. As a matter of fact, the big fish of the tournament was caught on day one, which was a 10-6 on a Carolina rig lizard.
Dang.
And a lizard's
Way
big.
to go, Corbin.
Lizard's a big deal on Rayburn in the spring. Which really for us, you know, going back to our early days of bass fishing, you know, not just the spring, but especially in the spring, we lived on a lizard. I mean, we rigged it up two ways. We Texas rigged it and pitched it and flipped it to targets.
Yep.
And then we Carolina rigged it even in shallow water. We did a lot of Carolina rigging in really shallow tidal water, real shallow lakes, dragging a lizard on a Carolina rig, which is a phenomenal pre-spawn technique.
It's
absolutely
great.
Phenomenal. And there's all kinds of theories about, you know, why the lizard's such a great bait. You know, the most accepted theory is, you know, lizards invade bass nests, and bass are, you know, it's part of their, you know, it's in their DNA, you know, to protect that nest and to attack anything. And of course, the lizard is, well, he's just one of them kind of slimy, low life, you know.
I don't know. I kind of like the Geico
bridge dwellers. You know what I mean?
Geico lizards.
Lizards are like
pretty cute little
bridge dwellers. But we thought, you know, we got so fired up on that Rayburn tournament that we thought, you know what? Let's go down and let's talk about some techniques that we used all over the country.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't pry a lizard out of our hands
Eh.
in the first quarter of the year.
And Corbin,
Period.
if you were going to pick up a lizard, I mean, how many colors you really need of it? You really don't need.
I mean, if you ask me, like three.
Yeah. You just don't need a lot of colors.
3,
Yeah. Watermelon red.
4. Because usually when you're throwing it, it's dirtier water.
Yeah.
Spring's usually dirty water.
Yeah.
Like
June bug.
June bug or blue fleck, one of those
Yeah.
two. Black
Yeah.
or black and blue, and green pumpkin.
Yeah.
Something you can dip the tail on.
Exactly.
Now then you got chartreuse pepper and cotton candy and all those
Well,
other.
you do have all those
bizarre-
other. You do
yeah.
have all those other ones, but the thing about it is, you really don't need a lot. You need
No.
something for dirty water, and you need green pumpkin. You got to have green pumpkin, and then what's nice about green pumpkin is you could dip the tail chartreuse.
Or orange.
This
Yeah.
is like one of the most important parts of your lizard arsenal is to spike it.
I love it. Matter of fact, let me have a hit of that thing.
So generally color wise, I would agree with these guys. I mean, it started back in the day with pumpkin seed,
Yeah,
and pumpkin seed with a chartreuse tail was
Carolina
the
pumpkin.
hottest.
Carolina pumpkin.
It
with
was the
chartreuse tail.
hottest bait on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And that was until the green pumpkin.
Well,
was
then they invented green pumpkin,
and that took over.
and that really took over the whole deal. And really for me, in my box, I have green pumpkin and June bug, and
Yeah.
I can get it all done with those baits. I mean, I can really get it done. Like George said, you can take green pumpkin, dip the tail chartreuse.
Well, I see Paul
know?
Batters is on here mentioning chartreuse pepper. When you go north, let's say Lake Champlain, let's say, the Thousand Islands, let's say any of these famous smallmouth destinations, make sure your Carolina rig game is on point. Post spawn smallies into summer pattern smallmouth on those Great Lakes up north. Make sure your Carolina rig is on point. Your Carolina rig game is on point, and make sure your lizard box is well stocked with green pumpkin and chartreuse pepper. Chartreuse pepper is one of those what we like to call impact colors that absolutely will light big smallmouth up. What can I say?
Yeah. So we got a couple questions on here. What's the largest size lizard that we use? Well, most of this time we're using 6-inch lizards. That's our number one lizard. But then also the biggest one we have is an 8-inch lizard.
So here's your layout. Okay, here's your layout. I don't know if I can do all that. So that's your 4. This is your 5. 5's kind of a sleeper.
I like the 5.
Yeah.
And then here's your 6. I'm going to tell you right now, the 6 is your bread and butter. The 6-inch lizard is your go-to bread and butter. There's the 8. Now, of course, these are Zoom lizards. Every quality plastics company on the planet makes a lizard, but I would have to maybe put an argument out there that the Zoom lizard reigns supreme in the lizard world. They're loaded with salt. Their colors are spectacular. As a matter of fact, they invented green pumpkin. I mean, that's kind of a kudo.
The tail's perfect.
Tails are perfect on them.
Yeah.
And when we dip them, we just dip a little bit of the tail. We might dip like an inch of the tail or less. We just want that contrast. It gives it a flash. It gives it a little bit of a movement. And they're deadly. They are absolutely deadly.
Yeah. Another question on here about smallmouth and largemouth. Are they good for both?
Absolutely. I mean, when you go up north, as I just finished saying, Mike, you cannot imagine how phenomenal a Carolina rigged 6-inch Zoom lizard is on big smallmouth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely deadly.
I've caught some big smallmouth on a Carolina rig lizard around here.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
In a lot of our local lakes and stuff. That
Absolutely.
we have them. I've caught them. Raystown Lake, it was a bigger impoundment, but any kind of impoundment, you catch both smallmouth and largemouth on them. But really good for largemouth, I think, more so than anything. But the smallies love them; they eat them up.
Yes.
Absolutely eat them up.
That little 4-inch lizard is also a sleeper.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's a kind of a question
You
here.
know, if you get a real
Yeah.
tough cold water bite early.
The thing is, we kind of got away from it, but it's a bait that, you know, a 4-inch lizard you can put on a slider head or a, you know, like a any
nailed
kind of those heads like that, and you can fish that in the river, in the Susquehanna River or any river for smallies, and it's a really it's just a great bait for, you know, the springtime situations. It's just a really good bait that's weedless. It goes along the rocks really well. And we just got away from it over the years. And it's something that happens to all fishermen. But the rebirth of the lizard is coming for us. You know, we're definitely getting back on the bandwagon. And I'm gonna throw that 4-inch on a slider head. I'm telling you, even for largemouth too.
I've had some early season cold water tough bite situations.
That 4-inch lizard
largemouth
is
fishing,
just freaking stupid.
Where that
on
4-inch
slider
lizard just absolutely saved the day.
Yep.
Saved the day.
Is that always interesting, guys? You know, as new baits keep coming out, we kind of forget about the lizards and other baits, but it's almost like a circle. You know, if you come back to it at some point, it's
Yeah.
going to get hot again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time. And certain impoundments are better than others with these baits. So George, Mike, Corbin, what are some local impoundments around here that you would say, hey, did well on a lizard before?
Well, I think Corbin will test this. I mean, all of them. It's a bait that, like I said, before the creature bait came along, and really when it comes down to some of the Carolina rigging stuff, when the brush hogs came along, you know, or the creature style baits came along, and the Carolina rigging kind of switched up for me. I went to a lot of that kind of stuff, and I started throwing a lot of those. It had a lot more movement, a lot more action to it, had more legs and everything. But I think the whole time I was doing that, I was hurting myself in some situations where they didn't want all that glitz and glamour, and I should have went to a lizard and put that back on. And it's only been the last couple of years that I've been really struggling with that, but it's something that we, you know, it was nice to watch that on these tournaments last weekend, where it just said, man, I got to start throwing that again. And I see where these guys are really whacking them. So, and where you fish it, Corbin?
So, I mean, I fish it all over, but I don't fish it hard.
Yeah.
Main reason being, I just feel like there's a specific time when it works. And for me, I'm not a big Carolina rigger. If I'm fishing it shallow, I'll have it on a Texas rig, unpegged weight.
Yeah.
Something I can throw far, or I'll even throw it on a split shot rig sometimes. I mean,
that's a good point. The unpegged,
yeah,
and the split shot.
Yeah.
That is a really good point right there. That's something you don't hear too often.
Yeah, and I actually try to start with a 5 or 6. I mean, I can tell you guys, like, I don't throw an 8 around here ever. I mean, I have before and caught fish on it, but for me, it's just, you know, for what I'm doing, the 5s, and you know, the 5's right where I want to be.
Yeah,
you know?
That fives are pretty good color.
Yeah.
So my main thing with the lizard, you know, it's other than Carolina rigging is a Texas rigged 6-inch lizard. And I'm gonna pick apart cover with that. I'm gonna pick apart, you know, any form of cover that's in front of me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna Texas rig it much in the same way. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go over some hook choices. I want to go over some Texas rig tips for fishing the lizard shallow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like a straight shanked hook when I'm fishing a lizard. So, you know, hook size is gonna vary by manufacturer. This is a round bend owner. Straight shank, you know, it's a round bend with a wide gap. So I'm actually going to size down one size in the owner because it runs a little big, this particular style. This is actually a 2.0. The hook that I've probably used more than any is the Gamakatsu version of this. And their version is more traditionally sized, and there I'm going to go with a 3.0. Probably the most popular hook that you'll see being used in lizard fishing is a traditional offset shank, which they call a J hook. A lot of people, and this will come in a round bend. So this is a round bend hook. You can see the perfect round bend, the wider gap. This is a sprout hook. This is probably your most popular Texas rig hook ever made. And it's probably your most popular choice on a bait like a lizard because you don't have a big bulky body, okay? You don't have a big bulky body here. You're not trying to go through a ton of plastic. So those are my two favorite picks. More often than not, the straight shank, although it is more high maintenance. And some people do elect to use, and it's perfectly okay, the EWG style, which of course we're all very familiar with. This is a Hayabusa standard 956 worm hook, 3.0 size, wide gap, perfect fit for the lizard. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to Texas rig it. And we get asked a ton of questions about the Texas rig every
all the time.
day.
All the time.
So we're going to go over some things here. So we're going to go into the head of the lizard. We're going to go in, just about to where the hook starts to bend. So if you look at that lizard, right where that hook starts its bend, and that would be probably about, I don't know, a quarter inch or so. And then we're going to pull our hook down through. There's a couple on the straight shank. There's a couple slices on the shank that are going to help hold. And of course, we're going to sink the eye. And then the trick with the Texas rig is you want that bait to hang nice and straight. You don't want a kink in it. So we're going to kind of get an eyeball. If you look back here, you can kind of see where that hook wants to go in that bait.
Yeah, you can see where it wants to start in there.
Okay. So we're going to back this. We're going to back this bait up a little bit to that spot, and we're going to hook it up nice and straight. Okay. And then for typical lizard fishing, shallow, we're going to use a 1/4 ounce bullet weight. I prefer tungsten, as I'm sure most of you do. Nothing fancy there. And then we're going to do a traditional bobber stop, worm weight stop, peg stop, sinker stop, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So this when you want to use a bobber stop, and this is something that you really want to take in mind because Corbin kind of nailed it on the head. If you're in heavy cover, then you want to use the bobber stop. But when on the plain banks, like you're fishing gravel banks when they're spawning, and you got fish kind of up there trying to make beds or whatever, you don't want that. You don't want the pegged weight. You want to be able to just to pull it with a sliding sinker, and it gives it a lot more movement out of it, and you get a lot more kind of drag out of it. It just gives a totally different action. But when you're in the cover, that's when you're going to
and I mean that's a great way of putting it. And believe me, it's the age-old conversation to peg or not to peg.
Yeah.
And you'll have 5 people up here. We only have 3 up here, but
Yeah.
I mean, we'll ask cameraman Nick what his theory is. I peg. I don't fish a free sliding weight. Very, very, very rarely. I will do it on a tube. When I'm Texas rigging a tube, I will. But I'm a peg guy. Nick, cameraman Nick, are you a peg guy or are you a free slider?
I'm actually a free slider.
Okay.
It just always worked well for me. I think I get more action, but again, it's all opinion based.
It is.
And,
it is. And it's an interesting conversation.
And it is. I always just visualized it in my head that it's almost like a mini Carolina rig for me. That's how I visualize it in my head. That bait's back there just doing its thing.
Yeah.
Might look more natural. I don't know, but I get it no matter what.
Yeah, I think when you're in a heavy cover, it's important to peg because it keeps the weight with the bait.
Yeah.
And you get hung up in a tree limb and not know, you think you're down in that tree pretty good, and you're actually hung way up in the tree because of the separation of the weight.
Or grass.
Or even in the grass, you could pitch into the grass, the sinker goes down through the grass, the lizard hangs up in the in the grass there. You think you're on the bottom, penetrating the grass. You're picking your bait up and it never even got there. So in certain situations, you got to peg, but I really like the fact that a free sliding sinker in those situations when you can.
Yeah.
It's just that that action is just so cool, man. And I think we oversell ourselves on pegging.
It's definitely,
Too much.
like I said, it's the age old question in the Texas rig world,
Corbin's-
and everybody has their comfort zone with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the questions we get asked here a lot is actually, how do you put the bobber stop on? I know for most of you guys, you're probably laughing, but
No,
you'd be
a-
surprised.
This is a legit question because a lot of people never pegged, and
so
it's
yeah,
crazy.
it's going to be hard to see, but this is a little like rubber stop that's on a wire.
No, that's matching your skin. Put it over your top of your sweatshirt. There you go.
I don't know, man.
How about find a piece of white paper?
Let's try that. Yeah, there. See that little wire right there? At the top, right above that bobber stop, there's a loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our line through that loop, right? Kind of double it over, okay? And we're going to slide. In other words, the wire acts as a transfer. So we're going to slide that bobber stop
Okay, stop. Let me see. Oh shoot.
onto our line, right? And then we're going to slide it down our line. Now, normally you put your bobber stop on first, then you put your bullet weight on, then you tie your hook on. We obviously are doing it backwards because we're just using a little couple foot piece of line. We slide that down. Now, one of the things I like to do when I rig mine up is I like to have a little bit of space there so I can kind of get that pivot out of that, as opposed to pegging it super tight where it can't pivot. I like to have that little bit of gap right there, and it just kind of lets it pivot up as it's falling. And that is a
Texas rigged.
basic Texas rig lizard.
Yeah.
Quick question, guys.
Deadly.
So you're talking about the peg. For everybody listening out there, at what weight you hear people double pegging?
Big weights.
So
Yeah.
at what weight are you starting to do that?
Ounce and a half.
Yeah, the big punching weights. A lot of people double peg. I never did. I single pegged everything, but you'll see a lot of guys double peg the big ounce and a half, ounce and a quarters, 2 ounce. I single pegged them all forever. Now, a lot of times I put a peg on first, then my weight, and then a peg on top, just to keep that big weight from banging on the top of my rig. But most of the time I'm snelling, and it just doesn't make a difference. That's a flipping, punching type setup. So that is your basic Texas rig. Now, Jeff Riddle asked a great question. So you're not trying to make noise with that setup. Well, back in the day, Jeff, when I know I can speak for Mike and I because we fished together.
Yeah.
We almost always inserted a glass worm rattle
Yeah.
into the lizard. We would put that glass worm rattle in the back thick part of the worm body. We'd slide that worm rattle in, or pointy. We'd slide that worm rattle in there, and you'd have that little worm rattle in there. You could also put a bead between your lizard and your tungsten weight, and get that bead sound there as well. But that's a bad boy right there.
Yeah. So, Corbin, you were saying about a split shot rig. Can you basically do that with a peg it style thing?
Well, my lizard rig's a little bit different than George's.
Yeah.
It's actually completely different.
Yeah.
No surprise. But for me, okay, the way the lizard is fished the most effective and the way it's well known is being Carolina rigged, right?
Right.
So the Carolina rig, which a lot of people use mono for, it's kind of like you're dragging and then you got that swimming motion.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I free slide
Yeah.
my lizard, because when that weight's dragging, eventually, they're going to connect together, but you're still getting that swimming action.
Yeah.
Okay. What's funny is, and I'm going to kind of try to explain this to you guys out there. If I peg my weight, okay, I cut down almost in half of what I would do if I'm unpegging.
Mm.
Okay. So, and here's why, because again, we want that lizard to swim. And if you flip it, because a lot of times when you're throwing, it's that pre-spawn area. So it's a little bit colder, generally speaking, especially on like docks and stuff. I want to make sure I'm really getting the maximum action out of that lizard. So if I'm flipping a 1/4 ounce lizard unpegged, that's going to fall about the same rate as a 1/8 ounce bullet weight pegged to a lizard. Okay. And I don't use a straight shank hook. I use this hook right here. And the reason being is because I don't feel like with the straight shank, I can't get it to swim right. And a lot of guys struggle rigging it. And me, it's more about getting that action and coupling that water to get the right flow to get the lifestyle out of it. Does that make sense? So like for me, that's how I look at it. So when I talk about like a split shot rig, yeah, you could peg it, but you could also use like a Mojo weight or something like that. And you're going to throw that up shallow and you're going to drag it. But really what you're trying to do is get that lizard off the bottom. You don't want that lizard to be just dragging in the bottom like that. That's what I don't want. I want it a little off the bottom. So when I'm fishing it, I'm going to fish it shallow to deep. I'm not going to drag it, deep to shallow, generally speaking.
And it's an interesting conversation because I Carolina rigged lizards like almost borderline obsession. And one of the things I always noticed about my rig after a hard day of fishing during the day is all of now I was Carolina rigging mostly like hard spots, right? Pre-spawn, shell beds, hard spots. Partway through the day, almost all the finish was rubbed off my hook. So that told me, and because these are salt impregnated, that I always thought this. That told me that my Carolina rig, the thought process of a lizard floating up, that's not what happens. You have a weight, and I always would try to be in that 3-foot leader length, typically. Sometimes you had to change that, but typically. And that hook, you could look at that bottom of that hook, and that hook was shined up. All the black coating was rubbed off of it. And that only happens if one thing happens. That hook is dragging on the bottom. And that, to me, I would always say, wait a minute. These people are talking about floating this lizard behind this Carolina rig. Well, what the hell's shining the bottom of the hook up?
Well, it does float along. It definitely scoots. It's what I always thought it was doing.
Exactly. It's unimpeded.
It was scooting.
It's unimpeded.
It was scooting. But to like what Corbin's saying, in that situation, when you throw it up on there, that sinker does separate from that. So you get that different, that different movement. And I think that's totally legit. And I think that split shot thing, I have a guy that I fish with, used to fish with all the time, and he was deadly up on Raystown Lake, and he would Mojo rig, which is basically a split shot rig. And all that's saying is,
what year was that?
That was a long time ago.
Give me a ballpark, because I just thought of his name.
Yeah, I say 97, 98, 99.
Now I don't know who you're talking about, but give me one guess. I bet you I nail this. What is there a prize?
No.
Oh, Mike?
No.
Ankeny.
Well, he did too, but
he was a split shot.
Yeah, but guess who was the guy who kicked my butt all the time was Chip Prince.
Oh, yeah.
He was a split shot chucking son of a gun. And all it is
well, let me interrupt you one more time. How about Pop?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Pop Acord.
Yeah.
Now he didn't call it a split shot rig. He called it a light line Carolina rig.
Yeah,
right. It was a split shot rig.
Thing, yeah.
It's basically a Carolina rig. So the weight
he tore us up off the back deck of the boat.
The weight is separated from the lizard or what is down here, and then your weight is up here, fixed. And it was just this light little mini. And what these guys were doing was they didn't want to get on the bottom. They wanted to get like up in the scrubble of the grass. So they'd fish the scrubble of the grass, and they want their stuff to kind of be up here on top of the grass and not getting down in the grass.
Not bogged.
They didn't want to bog down in it. And it was 1/8 ounce.
And that's where that rig really shines.
3/16 in deeper water, 1/8 ounce in the shallower water. And they would just That whole thing would just lay on top of that grass and drag across that grass. And he would clean my clock sometimes. And it would
Can I ask you a
infuriate me.
question
Yeah.
to Corbin and you?
Yep.
Is that rig that we're talking about here, or did you guys fish it on a spinning rod?
It depended on where I was at. If not, I fished it on about 10 to 12 pound.
Because I know my
Well,
dad always
but a lot of
fished his on a
times-
spinning rod,
Yeah.
and he
Absolutely.
would sit on the back deck of my boat and just freaking like, have you had enough yet?
Oh yeah, I had a 7-foot medium heavy spinning rod that I had. That was when braid was in. Back in, I fished all 20-pound braid for some reason. I don't know. We all fished 20-pound braid back
Well,
then.
that was the early days of braid,
Yeah, we fished 20-pound braid,
and we learned the hard
and,
way.
and we rigging these things up, man. And it was just like, it was something that really works, and it's something you can do anywhere. You can do it here. For me, it was something I did, specifically up on Racedown Lake, but that's just where I'm at. So any of those lakes where you have grass, you have early grass, and you want to get on top of the grass and fish a little different, you think the fish are up out of the grass a little bit, that split shot and really works well.
And
Yeah,
it's amazing how well it works with a lizard,
Yeah.
right?
Can I I mean, I don't want to take us on a different path here, right? But I got something I gotta say about lizard fishing
Yeah.
that there is no doubt, okay, that is gonna help everybody be a better lizard fisherman.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is be the lizard. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Lizards are cold-blooded.
Did
all
you
right?
watch Caddyshack last night?
No. But listen, I mean, I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you here, right?
We got you, man. We
so,
got you.
So lizards, they hang around trees, right? They hang around rock. If the sun's beating on the bank in the springtime and we're fishing that area, those are going to be where the lizards are going to kind of come out first, is that warmer area where the sun's beating. Okay.
Yeah.
And if the water's maybe 50 degrees, okay, don't take it like stroke your lizard across, because you ain't ever
Whoa.
going to see no lizard like going.
This is a family-friendly show.
Hey, I'm just saying, man, like keep in mind water temp, air temperature,
Yeah.
cold-blooded animal, like
Yeah.
keep that in mind when we talk about when you're fishing a frog. Be the frog, well, be the lizard too, because
Those are very valid points.
I ain't ever seen a lizard go flying across the water.
Exactly.
So that in the end is why I unpeg my weight and I throw a very light weight up in the shallows in the springtime, even in the wood.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when they first get up there, that lizard, I mean, you can see that lizard going straight to the bottom. They're swimming through there,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure to capture that swimming effect.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the biology side of it behind where I'm coming from.
Oh, I get that, man. That's a great argument. That's a fantastic argument, and I like it. I
Well,
like it.
yeah, and I don't necessarily my whole thing, I never really thought that a bass thought that was a lizard. I don't, a bass just sees that shape, sees that movement and attacks, right? But I think it's like a brush hog. A brush hog and a lizard are very closely related.
Right.
And it's kind of like a brush hog. I mean, there's no animal on earth that a brush hog resembles, but it's got a profile, just like this profile, this lizard, that resembles forage. And if it's presented right, it's extremely deadly. And the proof is in the pudding. When they're cracking this thing and they're not eating other baits,
Yep.
and for example, let's talk about like a sweet beaver.
Yep.
When they're not eating that profile and they're eating this profile, it's all about that elongated
Right.
profile versus
Right.
that. Now, that could be as simple as the difference between fish that are totally focused on crawfish and fish that are totally focused on, longer profile,
Yep.
and which could be anything, right?
Yeah, but to my point, when I was saying earlier in the show when we first started, which took me away from lizard fishing, was the creature style baits, the caffeine, whatever. And I think,
And it did.
that's a subcategory of this because it has sometimes I think it has too much action. The tails, the legs are bigger, the tails are longer, there's more action. And I think sometimes it's just like when we fish whatever, a grub as opposed to a tube, the action is totally different. And I think the lizard is that subtle movement. Although it has a lot of legs on it, that's subtle. It's
Mike,
very small and very subtle.
You're so right. I mean, look at the Ned rig.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
Senko. There's not a whole lot
Yeah.
of
So
structure there, but That might be the difference.
No, I think you're right. That's what I'm saying, Nick. I think like I'm not going to stop Carolina rigging a creature bait, but I think when I'm not getting the right bites, or I think that my bite maybe slowed down on it. Now I should, I'm going to be putting a lizard on and throwing that lizard and dragging that lizard just for a little different action. Now that's how I look at lizards and creature baits and how close they are in action, like George was saying.
Yeah, and I think Nick touched on something there about the Ned rig and the Senko. And, to me, I look at it as the activity level of the fish.
Right. That's a good word.
The more aggressive, the bigger their strike zone, the more movement in the bait. Okay? That's and I'll give you a prime example just without even getting deep into this, because this is, you can talk about this for days. I like to fish a big worm post spawn. I like to fish a 10-inch worm on a Texas rig post spawn through the summer. Well, look at post spawn through the summer. Water temperatures are up. The fish's metabolism are up. The fish's activity level is up a lot of times, and they're more aggressive. So that bigger movement. And, the lizard to me is kind of like the bridge between the more powerful moving baits and the really small moving baits. And I think in the springtime, when the lizard created its claim to fame, Texas rigging and pitch. See, when I'm Texas rigging, I'm doing one thing. I'm pitching.
Right.
A boat dock, a tree, a little, maybe a little, beginning of a grass bed, little clumps of grass, but usually hard cover, usually hard bottom, usually spawning locations or the transitions to spawning locations. And it really shines in that narrow window, that like I start my lizard here, I stop my lizard here. And that, again, when they start to go to the bedding areas and they're out on the flats, that's why that Carolina rig works so good, because I can put a 3/4 ounce weight on. I can bomb that sucker out on a big flat.
Heave it.
Drag. I'm feeling the bottom. I'm feeling the edges of the grass, and I'm feeling those shell beds and those hard spots where those fish are naturally going to congregate.
And or
spawn.
not the hard spots, and that you got to keep moving.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
And you can fish. The other nice thing about that heavy Carolina rig is you can fish fast. You can fish fast.
And George, speaking of that Carolina rig,
Let's talk about the
I
Carolina.
see some stuff up there.
Let's talk
You
about
want to rig
this,
one
Nick.
up?
Let's see it.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the Carolina rig. I got a lot to say about the Carolina rig, Nick.
You got a lot to say.
Corbin's got a lot to say about the Carolina rig.
Well, here's the trick. Here's the
I'm a
sequence,
Carolina
Mike.
rigging nutcase. Love it.
So let's talk about the sequence of how do you tie up your Carolina rig. Okay, well, obviously you don't want to tie your hook on first, because you're going to have a hell of a time getting your leader tied up onto your swivel. So what I do is, and Corbin brought this up earlier, probably the most famous Carolina rig combination is a fluorocarbon mainline and a mono leader. And some people like the Carolina rig with braid.
I love braid.
Yeah, I know you do.
I love braid.
I got a slight angling lesson.
Yeah, I love it.
Mike and I did a little live show couple springs ago, and he was back here Carolina rigging and just putting it on me with braid. But I like a fluorocarbon main line and a mono leader most of the time. So let's tie the leader on. So the first thing you do is you tie your leader to your swivel. Okay, it's the only way.
That's a big point.
It's the only way it works.
It's a big point.
So you tie that on, Palomar knot real quick. Okay, tie that bad boy up there.
Slick it.
Slick it up. Palomar knot it up.
You forgot to slick it.
Yeah, this is a test dummy.
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
And we usually do the 3-foot
Muscle
leader,
movement.
right? So
Well, I want to talk about leader length a
we'll
little
talk
bit.
about that.
But I
so
go with
I'll
that.
make it a
I
little
go with that.
longer.
I like that. 36 inches.
Now, main line. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So,
So now we have to put some ingredients on.
well, first of all, he tied the leader to the swivel, and then he stopped. He didn't tie anything else on it. That's
Where'd it
important.
go?
It's right there.
Where? Do I have to tie another one up? Did I lose my leader already?
Oh, right here, right here, right here.
Yep.
Oh, shit, I just lost it.
All right, let's tie another leader up real quick. My bad.
What the hell?
The leader is gone
How's
forever.
that possible?
Perfect. That's perfect. You couldn't do that again. It fell down between two showcases.
Mikey's gonna move the showcase.
I got it.
We could drag the lizard through there.
Yeah, there she is, sitting in there tight, man.
I got it. All right, so let me tie that. Let me tie my leader up again. There we go.
Yep, she's lost in there, Corbin.
She gone.
Boom,
She gone.
boom, boom. Okay.
And George, while you were tying that, what swivel size are you guys picking there?
I like a number 7 barrel swivel.
Yeah.
I don't like a number 10.
Nope.
I don't like a number 5. I like
Nope.
a number 7.
Number 7.
Okay. Let's make this leader up. And let's keep it far away from where we put the last leader. Way over here. Now, as far as your weight goes, we had one of the better Carolina riggers that we know do some seminars here at Bass Fest. And his name's Greg DePalma, and everybody knows him. He is tungsten all the way, okay? So tungsten. Now, this is interesting. I'm going to give you a visual here. This is a 1 ounce tungsten.
Yeah.
This is what I like to use. A 3/4 ounce lead. Look at that. Huh? This is my Carolina rig, so I'm putting on my sinker. So now I got to put my sinker on. I like a 3/4 ounce lead. I don't ever use anything but a 3/4 ounce. Doesn't matter what depth of water I'm in. I usually Carolina rig super shallow, but that's my.
How do you feel about the egg sinker? Because, you know,
I'm not opposed.
back in the day, we used to throw a lot of the egg sinker.
Well, I'm not opposed, but I like the bullet weight.
Yeah,
Okay, I like the bullet weight,
I do too.
but I'm not opposed to an egg
I'm
or a
not.
cylinder.
I'm not either. But I'm wondering if those egg sinker guys are fishing more gravel than, because we're a lot of times fishing grass.
I'll be honest with you, Mike. I'll be honest with you. If you've been doing this a long time, like
Yeah.
a lot of these people have,
Yeah.
it's how you started.
Yeah,
It's
I
how
think
you were
so.
brought up.
Yeah, that was big. That was like the early weight that you used, Nick, was a egg sinker.
Now a bead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does color matter, George?
It doesn't as long as it's red.
So you put your weight on first. Now you're putting a bead on.
A red
And what
bead.
kind of bead are we using, George?
A
red.
red one.
A glass bead.
I only use top brass
Glass beads.
glass beads, 8 to 10 millimeter.
Now, somebody was saying about sound.
I don't think you can catch fish in any other brand of bead.
Somebody was saying about sound earlier.
Top brass.
They were saying about noise, and this is the reason for glass. You want to put glass on there because you get a better click out of it, but you got to watch it with tungsten.
Well, if you're Carolina, and I'm glad you brought that
Yeah.
up. If you're
Yeah.
Carolina rigging with tungsten, back in our terminal tackle aisle, we have tungsten beads
Yeah,
made by a company called Eco Pro Tungsten.
right.
We also have tungsten beads made by a company called Fitzgerald Fishing.
Right.
And the reason we have tungsten beads is because big tungsten weights
Break the
break
glass.
beads
They break
all the
'em.
time. You'll go through a pack of beads on a hard
Yeah.
day of Carolina rig
You
fishing.
can use
Plus, you'll be pissed off.
if you want the loudest amount of noise, you would use a brass weight. That's
No,
called,
tungsten's loud too.
no. I'm saying if you wanted to use the glass bead, you know to get the most amount of noise without breaking the glass bead was brass. That's what we always used back in the day, and we had what they call brass and glass.
They also make what's called, and we sell them. It's made by Top Brass. It's called a Carolina Ticker,
Yeah,
which is a little disc of brass.
yeah. You can put that now. George could have put that in
Between the sinker and the bead.
sinker and the bead, and it would give him that brass and glass tick, even though he's using lead, Corbin.
Yeah, well, there's some other things that go into this can of worms that you opened up.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we used to Carolina rig on Lake Erie, in the beginning of the zebra mussel empire,
Oh, jeez.
you would your big sinker dragging against the bottom your line would break on the hook set because those little zebra mussels cut your line up. So we started making Carolina rigs. We actually sold them.
Yeah.
We started making Carolina rigs that we built on 20-pound 7-strand coated wire.
Carolina rigs. What do they call them? We call them Carolina rig.
George, is that what you got this for? This is for when George goes to Lake Erie. It's a 130-pound Grand Slam mono.
You could build those Carolina rigs on there too. We would take 20-pound 7-strand wire.
Yeah.
We would put our Carolina rig of brass and glass with and without tickers.
Yep.
1 bead, 2 bead. We did all different
And
things.
all we did was put a swivel on either end.
and then we would crimp a swivel on both ends, and you would tie on your main line and you would tie on your leader.
And it was about this long, Nick, and it would allow that sinker to move and click and carry on. And,
Plus, the sinker was dragging against wire,
and it was on wire.
so your line was protected.
Yeah.
Now,
They still make them. Strike King has one.
exactly,
Yeah.
the easy rig from Strike
Yeah.
King solves all this problem.
Yep.
It's a wire.
We
It's not
stock 'em.
flexible.
We stock them.
We do. They come in a 1/2 and 3/4. It's a wire. It's not a flexible wire. It's a little shorter, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Tie it on and go.
And it's brass and glass, and
It's
it's nice.
noisy.
Noisy. It's great.
And the reason that we like the noise, and the reason that we like the big sinker, and the reason why Carolina rigging is so effective, one of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons is that sinker is grinding and banging and ricocheting, and that glass, and every time that sinker moves, it's ticking and tacking.
And the dirt's coming up.
And
you know?
you're basically you're kicking the door in, guns blazing, and then along comes Mr. Lizard, minding my own business,
I'm here.
you
Just
know,
don't mind me.
just dragging along, and
Don't
you got this
mind me.
pissed off hornet's nest of bass, and they take their frustrations out on the lizard.
Don't mind me.
George, and you're talking about that lead weight. All right, if you could hold them two up again, the lead and the tungsten.
Yeah, so we have 3/4 lead, and we have, I'm sorry, 3/4 tungsten. So this is 3/4.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah. Can you do it?
I don't think I can. I can put them on here.
There you go. Lay them down flat and show. There you go. Good.
3/4 and 3/4.
Get a good zoom shot on that. Nick.
Big difference.
So the one on the right there is the lead. The one on the left is the tungsten. Now-
Tungsten lead.
What is your theory? Because you talked a lot about feeling the bottom. What is your guys' theory on, is that lead feeling the bottom like the tungsten would, or
Tungsten is much more harder, and it transmits that bottom feel much better than lead. But when you're at 3/4 of an ounce of lead, you're feeling it. And the only reason that I do 3/4 of an ounce of lead, it's what I always did. I like it.
right?
It's not better. It's not worse.
Did you ever throw? What's your preference, Corbin? Brass, glass?
I don't use brass. I'll use lead
Yeah.
or I'll use tungsten. Depends on what I have in my box.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I don't even use a bead. It just,
What?
yeah, man.
You don't use
Stealth.
a bead?
Stealth, man. Listen, you're still gonna get a little bit of a rattle from the tungsten hitting the swivel.
I know. Yeah, everything you do is like so great, man. I love that because it's so different than anything else.
And
Anybody else in the world does.
well, and the other part is
I like that.
And the other part is, I'll change my weight for the fall rate because sometimes you get bit on the fall, So like
Yeah.
weight size to me is almost just as important as Texas rigging sometimes. Now I'm not going to throw like an 1/8 ounce unless it's a spinner rod, but yeah.
I thought it was very interesting because last year when I fished the BFL up at the St. Lawrence, I literally was throwing a 1 ounce weight on
Yeah.
a Carolina rig, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So I went up to a 1.25 ounces or 1.5 ounces, and it was the perfect, deal. But wow, I mean, I it worked well. I can't imagine a 1.5 ounce lead.
Well,
I don't think anybody can.
this is
Yeah.
this is one of those things, Nick, where you know, if you're not feeling the bottom the way you need to feel the bottom, you need to add weight.
Yeah, and there's also a time you can feel the bottom too much. I feel like.
I don't know about that, but
And
You
not,
gotta- you
not
got-
when you're Carolina.
you
rig,
gotta
can't.
feel the bottom, and you have to have that weight. Now, me and George, many times we'd be fishing along with a half an ounce, because he likes a 3/4 all the time. Most of the time, I fish a half an ounce most of the time, but there's times where that wind will kick up like crazy,
You got to go to that 3/4.
and then we have to go to that heavier weight. He'll move up, I'll move up, we'll move up, and because you got to be digging that bottom, you got to be on that bottom, dragging that bottom, and doing.
It's kind of the definition of a Carolina rig. I mean, a Carolina rig by definition is get down there with that big sinker and cause a ruckus. Let them know that there's a new sheriff in town.
Yep.
And he's a lizard riding a hook.
Yep.
Okay.
So sorry for getting you off task.
Hey,
there,
Go.
George. What do you got there?
All right. So I have.
Hang on, go. Lizard on a spoon. I think the drugs are still in your system. Go from
Now
your
he's
surgery.
talking about fishing the chestnuts with a Johnson spoon.
Okay.
Topwater
Okay.
lizard.
I didn't know if he still had some of those drugs in from his knee surgery or something.
Oh God.
Now Go-Go's so tough. He just said, "Cut me, man." I don't
Cut
even know. So
Jeff
now,
Derecki, how are you, buddy?
now we have our main line, right?
Yep.
And we have our leader, and we're just simply now we can tie our Palomar knot much easier.
That's
right?
why you don't put your hook on your leader, Corbin.
That's why you put
Right.
your leader on your swivel first.
Yes. Don't put and then don't tie the hook on right away.
Because if you can't tie,
No.
you'd have to make a loop off your rod about this
Yeah,
big
we talked
to
about
get
that.
your leader through.
Yeah, you got to take your rod through it.
I mean, you'd be like, I know this is a little hard. Just remember the sequence, man. Leader to swivel,
Get that loop a little bigger. I got to get my 7-Eleven through that hole there.
main line to swivel, and the Carolina rig is born. Right? And then you take your leader, you take your hook, and yes, it's 3 knots. So every time you break off your rig,
Yeah, that is the suck part of
Yes.
Carolina rigging.
now
Of course.
silver lining, back in the day, we didn't have this little thing called spot lock.
Right.
So, if the wind was howling, there was no power pole. It was your right foot on the trolling motor
Sucks.
pedal while you had the rod under your arm and the wind howling, and you're trying to tie up the thing looking like Karate Kid up there on your pedal because we didn't have recessed pedals.
Well, what we used to do back in the day, a lot of times, Corbin, was we would be fishing a piece of structure. We would be fishing a hump,
Yeah.
an end of a point, an inside turn of a point, and we would mark it with buoys. We would use a lot of buoys back then, and we would throw towards them buoys because you couldn't do it
Any other way.
any other way. And so you'd be tied, and like George says, you'd be tied, you'd be like blown off your buoy, and then we'd be like, son of a gun. Then you have to trolling motor all the way because it takes you a few minutes to do this.
Yeah.
Pain in the neck.
One thing I actually did to shorten my time is I stopped tying a Palomar up here.
Oh,
I
using
tie-
a Jimmy Houston.
Trilene.
Ah,
You know,
you're
you
still
put it-
tying 3 knots.
I know. I'm just saying, like, that's, for some
Ma-
people, like, you can get away with tying a trilene there every once
Yeah.
in a while or whatever.
yeah.
But
You
I
can.
Maybe
Palomar's
with the
on
size
side,
fish you catch,
Yeah.
but not the size fish I catch.
Yeah.
Nick, the Carolina rig is born. Mr. Sinker down there dragging around, causing all kinds of havoc. Lizards following behind. Boom. Got to put your lizard on there, though, don't you, Nick? Let's borrow this one. He's just hanging out doing nothing.
So one of the things that you want to pay attention to is leader length. And I think we have to have a discussion on that for sure. I think the 36-inch leader like George has there is your standard, kind of your standard deal. If you can hold that up there.
Got her, Bobby? Yes,
That's
sir.
that's kind of your standard deal there. What most guys will what most people will throw, they will
That's about 30.
about 30. Yeah, that's about where
about
you're
where
going
we're
to be.
at.
30, 36
About where we're
inches.
at most of the time.
But I'll tell you this: in the early part of spring, when the grass is at its stubble and you're not fishing like the real heavy grass, or you're fishing, the edge of the grass,
Shorten it up.
I like to shorten it up to 24 inches. I think there's a definite time and a place for that shorter leader, and then there's a time and a place for a 4 foot or a 5 foot leader,
Right. Post spawn.
and
We've experienced that one time.
yeah, and you have to go that real long leader. So leader length is most of the time is be 30, 36 inches is what you're mostly going to do. And it's going to be fine for most everything. But maybe if you're fishing some stubble grass, or you're fishing maybe a little bit closer, a little bit colder water, and you want to slow things down, you might go to a 24-inch leader. And then when the water warms up, in some situations, you'll go to a longer leader when they're more aggressive and you want more want more movement and want some different type of movement, or you're in the heavier grass, you know what I mean? The heavier grass, and you want to get that on top of the grass. There's situations. I don't know what the situation is always going to be with
I have another situation,
Yeah.
Mike. So occasionally, post spawn summer on reservoirs, which is one of the things we're going to be talking about at Smallmouth Saturday, we will Carolina rig steeper dropping banks with deep timber. And that situation there, you want to shorten your leader down to 18, 20 inches, or else that big leader's
right.
that sinker's going over this limb and that leader's still trying to come up over this limb, and you get what I'm saying.
Well, here's a guy right here, Jeff Gorecki. He's saying 18 to 24. Well, that's Raystown Lake. At least that's where he fished a lot. And it's, got those steep banks and stuff. But also up there, I always liked in the spring on those stubble banks, where they're spawning and it's got grass stubble. I just like that 24 inches up there. It just worked great for me. But later in the year, when I'm fishing deeper on the outside edge of the grass, I always went longer, 36 inches. So kind of hang up in the grass and get up in their face a little bit.
Question for you guys. So last week we did a whole show on line.
Yeah.
And Mike, what was your motto last week? Line is the
cheapest link between you and the fish.
Right. So
Yeah.
we got 3 knots, right?
Yeah.
What is your take on line? Is it
Well,
a one size fits all for you, George, or
On my
you guys
Carolina rig?
varying it up? Yeah.
well, he didn't really get into pound test of what you're using for it.
Yeah, I mean, so my main line most of the time is going to be a 15 fluoro, 15, 16, depends on the brand. This is Sunline, so theirs is a 16.
That's the main line.
Main line. And then a lot of times my leader is going to be a 15 mono. Now, Mike and I had a really good tournament this past summer, Carolina rig. And believe it or not, we Carolina rigged with fluoro leaders.
Yeah.
We were Carolina rigging deeper grass edges. And you might ask, why were we using fluoro leaders? Because there was no mono on the boat. We weren't exactly planning on Carolina rigging. And the only
You should have seen that freaking cluster.
the only mono that was on the boat was on a topwater rod. So I said, well, shoot, let's go with fluoro. And it worked great. So sometimes it's a fluoro leader. For me, most of the time it's a mono leader. I like that little bit of give in there. Because your hook set on a Carolina rig is not your flipping hook set. Okay. Your hook set on a Carolina rig is a detect the strike, reel down, and a sweep. A sweeping set. So you're
Sweep,
from
yep.
here to here. And you're laying the lumber to them.
Yeah.
So you need a little bit of cushion on that leader helps.
Because a lot of times you're bailing out there. You're bailing.
You're chunking it.
You're chunking as far as you can and covering a lot of water with it.
I mean, Mike, last year we fished a tournament circuit, and his Carolina rig was tied up on a 7.5 Extreme Mission Type F Orochi, and he was bailing casts.
Yeah. And so the other thing I like,
And Mike likes braid.
and I like a 30-pound braid main line, and I like it to go to a 15-pound, either mono or fluorocarbon. I think we always fish fluorocarbon for some reason. I always fish fluorocarbon. I know there's a bunch of guys fishing.
know you did
mono,
last
but
year.
I always fish fluorocarbon. I carry the Blue Label 15-pound spool, and that's what I always Carolina rigged with, and I'm going to stand by that. That's what I do.
Have you taken notice, like George, you have the fluoro with fluoro or fluoro with mono,
Yeah,
and Mike, you're using the braid.
yeah.
Does the same rod seem to work for both of you, or do you have to change it up because of the stretch and not stretch? And
We're not using pull cues. He was using that EMTF Orochi, which has got a lighter tip section. About, you know how it rolls. It's an extra fast rod. I was using the old standard issue 844. Heavy power fast taper. What do you Carolina rig with, Corbin?
844 GLX, or I'll use a 7.2 heavy Zodius. Depends on what I got. But like for me, this is actually one of the areas I use copolymer as a leader. And I use 12 as a leader. Now, if I'm in grass and we're talking like a grass edge or grass, it's maybe up like this, I'll go to fluorocarbon, because usually your bait's not necessarily going to sink in that grass, especially if it's up high.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll either use a 15-pound baseline or I'll use a braid.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, in clear water, if you can, I try to use braid because I can throw it further.
Yeah.
So I'm also trying to get this as far away from the boat as I can.
Yeah.
so another question
Good point.
for somebody that doesn't know how to use a Carolina rig or never used one. You have it rigged up. George has it perfectly rigged up there.
Yep.
You cast it way out there. What is the technique to bring it back to you? Is it that same sweeping motion? Is it a jigging motion?
No, you're not jigging. First of all, you can, with that big sinker, I mean, you can feel it thud down,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then it's just a drag, right, Mike?
It's just a drag.
Just a kind of like rod position's going to be from like 9 to like drag,
11.
drag, 11, reel down, drag. And the nice thing about the rig is you can drag it, and that can be an effective retrieve. And the other nice thing about it is when you get into the neighborhood and you feel a rock or you feel a hard patch of bottom, you can slow it down. Or if you get it, one of the things I like to do is if I'll get my sinker will get in a clump of grass, I like to kind of and if you picture this in your mind, that silt that's on that grass is puffing off that grass, right? So you're kind of shaking the trees a little bit, and then you kind of pop it through, and then your lizard's coming up behind there, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. You bring it up, you kind of all I always put in my mind is the sinker was something I was just feeling. I was feeling around down there. It was my extension of my hand that I'm feeling along. Oh, there's something. I got to pop it up over that. And then you bring it up like that little distance. You bring it up that distance of your leader and just set
You're ready.
you just set the bait there, and just wait for something to hit it. Nothing there. Okay, you keep going. But it was just that sinker really gives you that extension, and you just and you're visually fishing it in your mind, and that's the key.
And we're visually fishing it a little different these days
Yeah.
because Mike and I have embarked on the electronic journey,
Oh yeah.
and a couple of our tournaments that we fished last year, we were offshore, and we instead of just back in the day, you would just kind of fan around and feel around. You'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, Mike, there's some grass. If you line up on that tree and you look over here at this barn, this is our spot. Well, now it's like 360. Right there, Mike,
Yeah.
60 feet out,
Yeah.
right there. And, the big thing there is your efficiency rating goes up because almost all of your
Yeah.
casts
Yeah.
are on target.
And I think for the guys, if that don't have that, but absolutely. I mean, George is right. I mean, that was a game changer for us big time. But the Carolina rig it allows you to cover a lot of water on those flats, in those coves where there's spawning coves, and you want to be able to cover all that water around there real quick. It allows you to throw it out, get it down, drag along, pick up, drag, and you just can cover that water very, very efficiently. And that's what it's always been for us. It's always been a feel thing and a covering the water thing. And it's always been, and I tell you another thing, we're not even talking about it. It's a fantastic structure bait rig for fishing rock piles, for fishing ends of points. You find a point that comes down, and where it drops into the channel, you can fish the ends really nice. You can fish brush piles really great with it. You can fish all the different structures that you find, like rock piles out, especially rock piles. I mean, I just love fishing the Carolina rig on a rock pile in 20 foot of water. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it allows you to get down there and feel around there and fish around that structure and present something finessed behind it. So, we're talking a lot about the spawn and the shallow water aspect of it, but I'm telling you, it's a fantastic structure.
Yeah, you're showing the versatility of the
It's
Carolina
very,
rig.
very, very versatile. Absolutely.
One of the cool things
I couldn't agree more.
with Corbin here, Corbin, I know you love to be very meticulous with your setups, your colors. Is there anything that you kind of change up with your Carolina rig? And then also, what are your colors that you're selecting for your lizards?
Well, I'm going to keep this to the lizards because when I Carolina rig, I don't always use a lizard. Full disclosure.
This is a lizard show, bro.
Yeah, I know, but that's why I said for me. I mean, I like he's
Keep him on point, Mike. Keep him on point.
No, he's asking me. That's why I said I'm keeping it. I keep it pretty simple. I'll use those same colors, man.
Yeah.
Watermelon red.
Yeah.
Especially in clear lakes, high pressure, bluebird skies, green pumpkin, cloudy, all around, with the tail dipped, and then your June bug. And I will occasionally use black.
Black, absolutely. I'm glad you said that. Black.
But. Okay. Don't be afraid to do some research. Okay. And know what is present in your local area. And I could tell a quick story here, but I don't want to necessarily go into it. But Ben Buckhunter whooped my ass. Okay. On a lizard on the Potomac River.
Yeah.
Because he saw this lizard.
Yeah.
On a dock, and he dug out this like antique thing. It was falling apart, and it was on.
Yeah.
I mean, he had like the color that matched it, and he was it was on. And they wouldn't eat. I mean, I caught a couple in a shaky head, but they wanted the lizard. They wanted that color.
Yeah.
And my man went to town.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
I remember a guy that we were fishing with on the Conowinga pool, and he would buy this lizard, and he would take dye. And he would dot.
Exactly.
He would dot the lizard.
Yep.
And honest to God, he would dot, and it had to be like 5 dots, like 3 on the body and 2 on the tail. And he was pretty freaking deadly down there. I mean, he caught the hell out of fish down there, and it was a Scupper Nong lizard. I'm never gonna forget this because he put it on me one day down there. I fished a tournament with him. And he put it on me. I was in the back of the boat, and he was up there, and he's like doing this, and it took him like 20 minutes to do a lizard, and I'm just fishing along, and he's dotting this thing up, and it was a Scupper Nong. I think it was called Scupper Nong green, and he would take chartreuse, Corbin, dink, 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 and that's
and color has there are some. So I mean, some old school stuff that if you can get it, but I doubt if you can. One of the biggest bags I ever caught on a lizard was caught on a little bitty lake we have over near here called Lake Redmond. And that was a 4 fish limit. Combined with my fishing partner that day, we had very close to 24 pounds on 4 fish. Blue shad, Zoom lizard.
Good God. Jeez.
Other massive.
Why'd you put that out there?
You can't buy them; they're gone. Other massive catches that were made on lizards. The old school blue flash. I'm just taking a stroll down memory lane and talking about
blue
colors.
flash. Oh my
You
God!
can't buy them. They don't make them. They're.
I'm telling you right now, there's people at home going, "Oh Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. I think I got a bag down in the basement somewhere.
Blue Flash, Blue Shed. Now, I'm just gonna let you know I got a little stash too. Come on.
Yeah.
Blue Flash. Holy
That was
crap.
fun. That was fun to mention those colors.
Oh, it was, man.
So, Mike,
Jeez.
let's kind of bow this up real quick here. I have a couple little quick things on tournament, just 2 minutes, and then we need to vamonos.
Yeah, so I hope you guys understand that Carolina rig, although I think a lot of people that are listening to this show haven't thrown it. I'm hoping now that you see how it's rigged, you understand the rig, and now that it's going to be part of your arsenal. I'm not kidding you now when I'm telling you. And me and George have 2 rods rigged up in our rod box all the time with a Carolina rig on it.
That's straight up true.
Constantly. They never change. They're never coming off. They're always on there. All we have to do is when we change line is retie the thing when we change line or if we break off. But they are on there. We use those constantly, and it's nice to have one rigged up ahead of time. This is something,
No doubt.
bro. This whole thing about fishing is fishing the gut and then fishing the moment. And fishing the gut and the fish in the moment, it's a lot easier with Carolina rig to have that son of a gun already in the box. I mean,
Dude.
Here now. I love my brother to death because he knows me inside and out. And here's a quick story for you. We were fishing one time, and I'm like, I'm fishing. I'm like, damn, we ought to be throwing a Carolina rig, and I ain't gonna tie it up, man. I'm fishing. I'm fishing. I'm going, and he knows that I won't stop and tie it up because I'm like everybody else. It's a pain in the ass, and I want to fish.
And it's your day out to
And
fish.
it's my day out to fish. I don't want to be tying this thing up. And Jordan's like,
You got to do it.
he's like, bro, we got to do that, man. He'll stop what he's doing and he'll go back there and he'll tie one up and he'll say, here's this rig. And I mean, that's why we do it. We do what we do because he is the guy who does that right. So for me, tie it up ahead of time.
Please.
Put it on your rod and have it in your box because you're going to be like me and just won't do it. And you're going to miss out on some key situations and some key bites with this Carolina rig. And I'm telling you right now, this freaking thing catches fish, it wins tournaments, and it puts money in your pocket, as me and George found out well this past year. So keep throwing that thing. And you guys, I hope you learned something from that. And let us know how you're making out with it. So what do we got for tournament talk, George? I know there's 2 big giant tournaments going on, Corbin.
I know.
And you've been paying attention to the Open. No,
Well, I mean, I looked at both of them.
but what was the one we're watching for our buddy JT?
Yeah, that's the it's the Toyota Series.
Toyota
down in
Series.
Okeechobee.
On
Like 272 boats.
good gosh.
Something like that.
See, that's the first one. Everybody's stoked, man. They're
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah. I think like 20 pounds, 8 ounces is leading it. I mean, I talked to JT earlier this week. He said it's been tough. He said he was down there 4 days and didn't have a bite.
Well, these cold fronts, man,
Yeah.
kill those fish. Florida, you got to understand Florida. George said it. It's so overrated.
Yeah.
If you're not down there at the perfect weather this time of year, you're screwed.
Well, I mean, we've said it numerous times on this program. January and February events, big events, particularly in Florida that don't have the absolute perfect weather,
You're screwed.
11 to 13 pounds a day is great.
That's a big bag.
Right.
And a case in point, the Bass Open, Southern Open,
Right.
Kissimmee chain today,
Yeah.
18th place, Charlie Hartley. Shout out to Charlie Hartley. Charlie, did you hit 1 million tournaments yet, Charlie?
He fishes.
Are you at like
everywhere, man.
999,000? 13-11,
Great guy.
right in the freaking mix. The G-Man, Gerald Swintel, 23rd place with 13-2. So from 18th to 23rd place, 13-11 to 13-2.
But first place is
Okay.
28 pounds.
So that's a June bug finesse worm,
Yeah.
and you caught 20,
Yeah.
2.25 pound fish, and that is
Yeah.
Florida under tough conditions. Shout out to Joey Cifuentes the third.
God.
My man was slaying dragons on the Kissimmee chain today. I mean, he went full on like Dragon Slayer, 28-10 with a 9.5. And Joey is known for a couple things: his hat, his cowboy Stetson, and he's an accomplished angler. He got a great head start in life, rooming with the General when he was a co-angler, and probably still rooms with the General. For those of you who don't know the General, Larry Nixon. You might learn a thing or two practicing for like 20 tournaments with Larry Nixon. So shout out to Joey Cifuentes. He's a good dude, hardworking guy. Has a great show
Yeah.
on TV. They have a great him and his partner Sonar Miles Burghoff. They have a great show.
What a
fishing
bag,
show.
oh man.
Huh?
What a bag.
What a bag.
Yeah.
28 pounds.
Mike, the kayak. You read about this, Corbin? The Hobie Bass
No.
Open system.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They have raised their payout this year for their championship tournament of champions
Oh
Yep.
God.
to a $100,000 payout.
Wow.
Not for first now. That's for
That's all.
from first to 45th. But still, first place is getting 45K.
45K. Yeah, I was going to say it's
So
45,000.
this tournament, kayak
Kayaking thing?
tournament
It's legit.
gig. There's a bunch of guys touring.
They are touring.
That
Look-
chick from Wisconsin won last year.
That one dude that won the
You
Hobie
got the guy from
championship.
West Virginia.
Yeah,
He's out there full time in it.
full time. Here's the deal
We
with
have
that.
some local guys here that are sticks.
Yeah, here's the deal. Look at where that stretches. That stretches from Texas
They're on Lake Fork right now.
to Connecticut. Yeah, and these boys are traveling it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I talked to a guy today that was in
Growing.
the shop. He's gonna fish. He's gonna fish the Susquehanna River because
Yeah.
there's an event on the Susquehanna
Yes.
River.
Yes.
He's gonna fish
I forget what that's called. That's a Bass Open Series. I
something
believe.
in Connecticut or somewhere up that way, and he's going to go all the way out to Wisconsin to fish the rivers out there.
Well, you guys think about it. I mean, if you're going to win 45,000, the affordability is so much better.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean? It
Yeah.
makes sense. And
oh yeah. You can throw it in
Yeah.
your trunk of your car and head out there, man. Let's go.
Yep.
Head out there and put 2 or 3 kayaks in the trunk of the car and let's go fishing.
Well, I mean, these kayak rigs are kayak rigs are evolving. So
they are getting like out of control.
they
with
have
these
the
things.
drop-in trolling motors.
Yeah.
So they have the ability for spot lock.
Hobies, you're not allowed to use those though.
No, the certain circuits you're not allowed to use.
Yeah,
that. The Bass Open you are.
Yeah.
The Bass Open Series
The
you are.
torpedoes or whatever. Yeah.
The
You can use
the Hobie
whatever.
bass. The Hobie Bass Open?
Yeah,
You can?
yeah. You can use on the Hobie Bass Open. That's so Bass Open means BASS
Yeah.
administers it.
But what about just a straight up Hobie tournament?
I doubt it.
I don't know about Hobie, but I know the Bass Open Series sponsored by Hobie, which is the one that pays the biggest money.
So that's the one that's coming here. So
Ike won one on the flats last year.
yeah, they're coming. They're coming to the Susquehanna River.
Yeah.
200. They said there's going to be 200 something.
Well, they've been
kayaks
here. They did this on the Susquehanna River 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And last year they did their championship on the flats.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't realize how huge it is. They wanted us to sponsor the event, and I was definitely considering it. You know, like okay, well, what does it take? And they told me what it took. And I was like, oh,
I ain't considering it anymore.
well, you know, I love you guys, but
I can see why you're paying out 100,000.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, a ton of money to sponsor that thing.
But I'm really excited about it. It's a whole nother venue to get into this situation here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
So yeah, I mean,
Well, it's exciting. Watch the next couple days. There's exciting tournaments going on down there in Florida, and it's a kickoff. It's the kickoff weekend for a lot of events. We got our buddy JT down there, and he is struggling. So wish him to have a good day tomorrow. I'm telling you, if he catches like 20 pounds tomorrow,
He'll be in the cut. Yeah.
he's in the cut. That's all you got to do.
he will.
Yep, I'm
he's a
telling you right
beast.
now. Go. I hope you're doing well. Sean Lagerman, thanks a lot, guys. Daryl Hutchins, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you stopping by. All you guys, we really appreciate it. Jeff Riddle again, thanks, bud. Robert Bretts, how you doing? Paul Bradders, man, appreciate you guys. So What do you got, Corbin? Anything else? Any announcements? You good?
No, just smallmouth Saturday, you know.
Smallmouth Saturday, February 12th.
Yep.
Next weekend. Come on down here. Have a great time. We're going to have a bunch of specials here. I'm telling you. Great prices on some great products. We got it all. I'm telling you, our shop is loaded. You don't have to worry about going anywhere else and shopping around. It's here in the shop. We got it. And I'm telling you, get it now because it's going to get crazy here coming up. And till next time, thanks a lot for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Tackle Shop Live.
Yeah.
I met you on a sunny day. Right there, you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day, you called me up. You told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Hopeless lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait, it's not a funny